money and status don't necessarily mean more upstanding lifestyles. In fact, quite the opposite, as can be seen by the sheer number of NBA stars who've been arrested for a wide range of things over the years. From DUIs to acts of street racing, all the way to some good old drug possession charges. There seems to be no limit to what these guys can do. Starting with Richaun Holmes. Traded to the Phoenix Suns back in 2018, Holmes quickly became one of the most prominent players in his team. He had charisma, skill, and most importantly, an awe-inspiring drive to win. However, he also gained prominence in his team in May of 2019 for a different reason. You see, while in Miami with a few friends, Holmes and his squad were pulled over by a cop for not wearing a seatbelt. Pretty standard, right? Well, it would have been if not for all the too seductive smell of green stuff in there. And when the cop got the party to exit the vehicle, guess what he found but a blunt safely stored in Holmes' cup, still lit. As a result, he had to pay bail for charges of possessing 20 grams of marijuana, as well as stay for a few hours at the local county jail. But luckily for him, the punishment did not extend to the NBA, because they do not have any penalty for first-time marijuana offenders. Now, one of the things that Holmes did right was listen to the cops when they got him. However, we can't say the same for our next pick, who had different ideas of what law enforcers should be treated as. Josh Jackson. You see, if there's one thing that you have to remember, even as an NBA star, it's that to make your status work, you have to go through the right path. Because while it might be possible for a star to get into the VIP area of a bar he knows, for a different, more sensitive place, like the VIP area at a stadium jam-packed with fans, especially if the officers repeatedly tell him that he can't enter, the situation's much different. But apparently, our next Phoenix Suns star, Josh Jackson, didn't get the memo, because not only did he do that, he also went a step further. And let's just say it wasn't a pretty one. You see, Jackson was one of the attendees at the Hard Rock Stadium in Miami Gardens for a night of music on May 10th of 2019. And expecting his regular treatment, he tried to get his way into the VIP area. However, the guards were having none of it and straight up declined his entry. But apparently, Jackson thought that the rules were less of an actual real law, but some kind of guideline, because he tried to enter anyway. As a result, the guards had to arrest him and proceeded to put him in a golf cart while they awaited further orders. And then, against any and all rules of common sense, Jackson attempted to run off from custody. Suffice it to say, he was pinned down, tried for attempted escape and misdemeanor, and had to spend 6 months of correctional time. Yikes. Now, not all prosecutions on famous sportsmen go the same way, because occasionally you get people like our next pick who get off a little easier than most would argue that they should have been. But before we go any further, I'd like to ask you guys to please consider subscribing to the channel if you like these videos. And while you're at it, ring the notification bell so you don't miss out on any future uploads. Now, with that out the way, let's move on. Tyler Dorsey. Now, one of the reasons why Tyler's situation might have gone the way it did was the fact that the Hawks point guard had only recently completed his rookie year. Regardless of reason, however, here's what went down. Back in May of 2018, Tyler was approached while driving in Eugene, Oregon. Why, you may ask? Well, you see, Tyler was out driving at 2:30 in the morning while his headlights were nowhere to be seen. And when apprehended by the police, it soon became clear that this was a perfect case of DUI. According to the police spokespeople, later that day, the officer noticed Tyler's Land Rover driving in the dark without lights. And when they got to talk to him about it, they noticed his intoxication. Not only that, but the culprit was nearby as well in the form of an open bottle of alcohol on the passenger side floor. As a result, he was arrested with a $590 bail. And later, when the matter went to court, Tyler was charged with not only a DUI, but separate charges for having an open container in the vehicle, along with one for driving without headlights. Now, maybe due to him being a first-time offender, or that he was a local hero, having played at Oregon University in the same town, when the lawyer filed a no contest plea, the judge acquiesced, fining Dorsey only $175. And well, driving-related arrests are more common for NBA players than you think, maybe because that's the only time they're not surrounded by attention. But whatever the case may be, another perfect example of this is Malik Monk. The Charlotte Hornets shooting guard was one of the more promising upstarts during his early rookie season, and with 5 points and 1.2 assists, it definitely was one damn fine attempt. And in some ways, his subsequent issue definitely proved that exact built for NBA status, but you can't be a star without some early problems. You see, while in Arkansas, Monk had a pretty major accident right next to the Arkansas University, and ultimately, he was the one who had to take the blame for it. According to the police, and as later testified by onlookers, Monk was seen driving his 2002 red Lexus car near the college campus on February 18, 2018 at 6 a.m. However, for some unknown reason, Monk lost control of his car, and while some may consider it an accident, the police investigation found it to be a case of good old reckless driving. The car, now out of his hands, skidded dangerously on the road and ultimately crashed into a nearby gate. The damage to the hood and engine bits was immense, and although no certain reveals have been made regarding Monk's own injuries, thankfully, due to the 6 a.m. time, no one else was injured. According to Monk himself in an interview, "I looked down for a second and then I just hit a bump. Sure thing, man." And it disappeared like that too, right? And careless driving wasn't the only charge either, as the guy was driving without any insurance, which is a legal issue in itself. Now, at least in the case of Monk, the incident appeared to be an act of carelessness or a genuine mistake. That, however, cannot be said of the next guy on our list, none other than DeAndre Bembry. At first, Bembry's case seems oddly similar to that of Monk. However, it soon becomes apparent that there's something more than a sleepy dozing off going on here. See, on February 9th of 2018, DeAndre was spotted in his car in northeastern Atlanta on an open freeway. However, not only was he not alone, instead the other car seemed to be going toe-to-toe with DeAndre's. That's right, ladies and gentlemen, we've got a racer on our hands. And all that becomes even more apparent once you realize what it was that he was driving. Because according to the officer present at the scene, DeAndre was driving a purple Dodge Charger. And if you know anything about racing, cars, or motorsports in general, you know that a Dodge Charger is the car for a street drag race. And so it's no shock that Officer Donald Hanna, the cop who happened to be at the right spot to notice the shenanigans, deemed it a race. And with all that on the table, it's no wonder that DeAndre was found guilty for reckless driving, as well as speeding, and consequently had to be arrested until being released on bond later on. And well, that was only the tip of the iceberg of when it comes to the kind of stuff NBA players get into and what subsequently either ruins their lives or becomes a slightly ugly footnote in their career. And well, on that note, we must end today's video. Hope you enjoyed watching it, and if you did, be sure to leave a like and subscribe for more.